Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're located. For me, it's 11:30 out here on the West Coast, so still morning time. My name is Allison Fitzgibbon, and I'm going to present to you about multiplication. Um, this chapter I'm going to discuss is from the new book coming out by Dr. Cotter called Start Math Right, and I will be talking to you about the multiplication chapter. Go ahead and give Dr. Cotter a chance to speak real quick.
Thank you, Allison.
No problem.
I'm happy to hear you speak today. I'm excited to hear about multiplication.
All right, I hope I could do it justice. So Dr. Cotter is the creator of RightStart Math. You've probably heard of her name before or seen her picture, at least at a minimum. And she is coming up with this great book that's going to take you on a journey in math excellence. So today we're going to just cover multiplication, and we're going to proceed with the stuff that I found that I really wanted to talk about. Now there's so much information in this chapter. It's really intriguing and lots to talk about, but mostly what I'm going to focus on today are patterns that you see in math. I think that's one of the most incredible things about math is patterns. The puzzles, the pieces, all the stuff that you can put together. And I'm going to talk to you about how those can make you an effective teacher of multiplication. So often you hear multiplication is repeated addition. And that's true, except for when it's not, okay? The concept of multiplication being repeated addition does not work when we're talking about fractions or negative numbers. So if you present multiplication only as repeated addition, it's going to set your students up for further challenges and misunderstandings. I think with a lot of math education, and multiplication in particular, there are some common practices that really are not doing our students any service. They're not helping them out. So some common practices that we have seen in the past are punishment. Learn your facts or you're gonna lose your this, right? Reward, if you get an A on that, facts quiz, I'm gonna get you a prize. Competition, timed test, frequently rehearsing, just going over them over and over and over again. Memorization, flashcards are all examples of things that are pretty common practice as far as multiplication, and a lot of education topics are. Okay, I remember when I was a little girl, a long time ago, my parents would say, "Hey, go grab the flashcards," and we'd sit there at night and we'd do the flashcards. I was a strong math student. I've always enjoyed math, and I remember feeling frustration with those. The 11s and the 12s never quite got those. And we're going to talk more about that as we go forward. But I remember feeling frustrated and feeling not good enough and just really struggling when those flashcards would come out. I remember my parents feeling frustrated, and they're career educators. So it's just how things were done, and it's how things are still done for a lot of people. So I want to tell you about different ways. So you can teach multiplication as arrays or area. And we start introducing kids to multiplication as arrays as early as kindergarten. And so the example of array is right here. We have 6 rows of 3, 6 taken 3 times. 6 times 3 is 18. So multiplying numbers of objects in a row by the number of rows gives the total number or your product. Okay. And then we also can think of it as area. If I asked you, hey, what is the area of a square or a rectangle? I'm confident that everyone here could tell me, width times height or base times height. But what does that really mean? If we look at here, we have this rectangle and it's labeled 4 centimeters by 3 centimeters, right? Hey, I'd like you to find the area of that. And you're likely going to tell me 12 squared centimeters relatively quickly. But what does that mean besides that formula? It means that we're talking units. If we draw these in, these are all 1 centimeter, we can see that it's 4 centimeters times 3 centimeters. That looks an awful lot like my array. So therefore, multiplication and area they can go hand in hand, and they're a great way to visualize and demonstrate what multiplication is. All right, so teaching multiplication as arrays. Groupings in 5 make it easier to visualize. Arrays naturally lead to finding the area of a figure, and then they can also be used to visually demonstrate the commutative property. So if you are familiar with RightStart, you know that we use an abacus, and we have that in groupings. You can see it on all of our pictures here, right? We have groupings of 5 and 5. So if we take that same grouping, that same concept, and we use it in arrays for multiplication, here I can quickly look at this array and I can tell you that there are 4 groups of 5 for 20 and 4. Well, that's a lot like 6 times 4, and I can quickly grasp that and see that. If I gave you the same amount here, but it's not grouped in 5s, then I do have to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 4. Is it possible? Can you do it? Yes. This was a lot faster. I know these are groups of 5. I can see that right away, and I can say, 6 times 4 is 24. There's 4 groups of 5 plus 4 more. Okay, another great thing about grouping them this way is we can use that commutative property. If we change our array and we change it just 90 degrees, we can see that 3 times 8 is the same as 8 times 3. Just by turning it that 90 degrees, you can see the commutative property, right? The commutative property tells us in multiplication that it doesn't matter the order in which we multiply, our product will still be the same. They will be equal. All right, so factors and products. One of the ways that we talk about multiplication, we'll talk about the mulch your hand and all these big words that are complicated, right? But really, if you think of it in a more advanced way, and you think of it as the terms and the products, which I think are easier words to work with, then we can work with multiplication a little bit easier and make it more user-friendly for our students. So if we have 4 times 3 equals 12, well, what are our factors? Both 4 and 3 are our factors. I don't have to figure out which one is which, right? They're both factors. They both carry the same weight. They both carry the same importance because we just talked about the commutative property. It doesn't matter which one goes first, okay? And then 12 in this situation is the product. So when we think of multiplying, if we're playing a game and you have a multiplier, right, it increases your score. Multiply, typically in common language, when you say, oh, it multiplied, you're saying it grew, it expanded, it got larger. But that's not always true in multiplication. And kids might have a hard time, or people that aren't overly confident in math might have a hard time seeing this distinction. So a way that you can do that is you can ask them some questions, make them discover it, which I love discovery. RightStart is full of discovery, which just makes you really connect to the math that you're learning. So a way that you could discover that is you could say, well, so if multiplying always means to increase, is the product of 4 times 1? Is the product of 4 times 1 greater than 4, or is it greater than 1? I don't know, right? It's equal to 4, but it is greater than 1, right? So we have a little bit of confusion here. Same thing when you say, well, what about 0 times 4? It's going to equal 0, which is clearly less than one of the factors. So just kind of another way to think about it. It's not always. So when we talk about fractions, right? When we're multiplying fractions, that changes a lot of the things, right? That's one of those ways when I said in the beginning, it's not repeated addition, except it is until it isn't, right? Fractions, negative numbers, those are situations where it is not the same. All right, so let's talk about learning facts. One of the things I didn't share with you is one of my jobs here at RightStart is I answer the telephones typically Tuesdays and Wednesdays, unless something comes up or I'm covering another day. And I get lots of callers, well-intending callers, loving parents that want to help their kids. And they say, well, I need them to have them memorized. They don't know their multiplication facts. What am I going to do? They don't need to have them memorized. In fact, we don't want them memorized. We want them understood. We want to know the hows and the whys. So should you have them memorized? No, you don't need to. You need to know how to apply the information so that you can get all the others. So if you think back, I talked about those flashcards, man, the 11s and 12s, they got me every time. And I'm sure they get lots of kids, lots of people. When you think about memorizing them, if you do just the facts, all the facts, like from 1 times 1 all the way up to 9 times 9, everything in between there, right? That's all you need, because you can use those strategies, the understandings of those, to find all the others. If you then say to your kid, you know what, we need to memorize the times tables all the way up to 12 by 12. That's what you have to do. I do know 12 times 12 is 144. The rest of them I have to work through, right? There's a bunch with that instant recall that I would have to work through. But when you compare multiplying, learning all the facts 12 by 12 as opposed to 10 by 10, it results in having to know 44% more facts. That's a big difference. That's a huge difference, especially when we only have this limited time and we're trying to crunch, 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 right? That's a lot to keep in there with all the other things that we're learning. So adding facts beyond 10 have limited value and are unnecessary, especially for those students with special needs. Okay, we want to make sure that we can serve and support all of our students. When we create something like, hey, it's got to be 12 by 12, all of a sudden we've lost part of our audience. We've lost part of our students. But if we say, hey, if you learn your twos, if you know your twos facts, can you tell me what 12 by 12, 12 times 12 is? Yes. If you know your sixes, can you tell me? Yes. If you know your threes, if you know your fours, all of those can get you to the same place. Patterns. I told you I was going to talk a lot about patterns. So searching for and finding patterns is a pillar of mathematics. Dr. Cotter says that in her book, okay? Multiples, in fact, have a superabundance of patterns, also her words. So if we look at the patterns of multiples, and this is introduced, I want to say in level D, and this kind of blew me away a little bit when I first saw these, and every time I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, I missed that one. But if you look, we like to put groupings of fives when we can. So we have our groupings of fives for our ones table. So these are our ones, our twos, our threes, and I'll go through not every single one of them, but some of them, okay? So if we have our groupings of one, it's quick to see the order there. Now let's look at our twos. So we're going to keep these also in groupings of two. And if you notice from this top row to the second row, each one increases by 10. So that's a pattern that I can see. I can also see my ones place. So that's my tens place. And my ones place, the number stays the same, right? So that's going to be a pattern we see throughout. When we talk about our threes, we're just going to put these in groups of three, rows of three. One of the quick patterns you can see here is that in the ones place, if we start from the bottom, we go 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And then we come back from bottom here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a pattern that we can discover there. Now we look at our tens place. 0, 1, 2, 3. Here, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. All right, another cool fact or pattern. 3, if I add these two digits together, it's going to equal 3. 1 and 2 is 3. 2 and 1 is 3. 3 and 0 is 3. Okay, let's see if it works for our next row. 6, 1 and 5 equals 6. 2 and 4 also equals 6. And the same thing with our final row. 9, 1 and 8 is 9. 2 and 7 is 9. I continue to show you all these patterns. I do want to talk about some other things as well, but if you just look, there's patterns in every single one of these. Your sevens are a tricky one to learn for a lot of kids. But again, we're seeing some patterns emerge here. So we have our 7, 8, 9, 0 in our ones places, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And then we go 0, 1, no, wait a second. Sorry, everybody. Is there, Dr. Carter, I'm going to call on you. Is there another pattern that I'm missing here? I'm sure there is, but I'm forgetting it right now. Is it just the ones?
The tens in each row increases by 1. So in the first row, 0, 1, 2. And the second row, 2, 3, 4. And then 4, 5, 6.
Yes, now I see it. Thank you. I was like, I know there's another one. I was trying to go up and down. Yeah, so we have our 0, 1, 2, then 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Okay, thank you, Dr. Carter. I appreciate the assist there. But even looking at, if we had these side by side, you can see that these are doubling, right? And these doubled these. I can get all of my facts that I need to know if I know these. The 9s, that's the one people like to do the special finger trick for, right? But look, if we put it like this, we can see that it increases just like some of those other ones. Your tens place is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to go the opposite direction, right? Normally we left, right, but we're going to go right to left on this one. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then even if you look at them backwards, right, all of these are going to also equal 9. Tons of cool patterns here in all of these, but also in our 9s. Okay. The hundreds chart. Lots of people use hundreds charts. You've probably seen them before. A great way to see how multiples play and different things go is to put them in your multiples chart. So this first one, and we have them for all, but I just got a couple of images because I wanted to talk about all the different, as many different patterns as I could, but just our multiples of 2, right? We can see, well, what else does this show us? This shows me all my even numbers are in blue. All my odd numbers, consequently, are not highlighted. They're in white. Okay, so that's one of the patterns you can see. Multiples of 3, they kind of make these cool little diagonals as we go through our hundreds chart. Okay, then you can layer them on top of each other. And I was like looking at this and I was trying to figure out what's going on. And it was quick to see that you have 1 and then 3 that work, 1 that doesn't, 1 that does, 1 that doesn't, 3 that works. And it's going to continue off, on, off, 3 on, off, on, off, 3 on throughout the whole thing. And that's just putting your 2s and 3s together. That's just showing some different patterns. And Dr. Cotter has all of these in the chapter. It has a bunch of different layers, all the different examples, but I only wanted to pull a few to share with you today. Patterns on the multiplication chart. Now, I teach G and H online, so I love those lessons. I love those levels and learn some really, really cool patterns in those lessons about the multiplication chart. You can use it to, and that's not what I'm showing right now, but you can use it to simplify fractions, right? 8/20ths can be simplified as 6/15ths, 4/10ths, 2/5ths. So that's one of the cool things you can do. But if I look just at this rectangle that I've created on my multiplication chart, it says right here, multiplying opposite corners will be equal. So 8 times 30 is going to be equal to 20 times 12. I'm sorry, they're both going to equal 240. You can do the same thing over here. I've made a rectangle. 10 times 90 is equivalent to 20 times 45. Doesn't matter how you make the rectangle, this will work every single time. Here we have a square, right? This is a 4x4 square. We're looking a little bit at area, right? You can kind of see how that would be. You can see this diagonal right here is your squares, your 1 times 1, your 2 times 2, your 3 times 3, your 4 times 4. And you can see that here, all the squares 1 through 10 make this diagonal, which are all our perfect squares. So all these can be found on your multiplication chart. So we have, this is the big picture of the multiplication chart, right? And if you're familiar, we use a short multiplication table in RightStart because we can get all that same information. And it really leads us to a wonderful conversation about the commutative property. So if we look at our short multiplication table and how we use this, if I asked you 5 times 6, I would come to the 5th row. I'd go over 5, down 1 to my 6, and I'd find 30, which is the same as 6 times 5. Also, if you notice on the second one, the squares are going to be the last part of your row, and those are in bold. So it's, we went from this here, which is a lot of information, to this short multiplication chart table. That's a little bit easier for people to work through instead of seeing all those numbers. They kind of get blurry and lost in the shuffle. One of the other things that RightStart loves to do is we love to play games. There is a game where you build the short multiplication table. You go through the cards and you build it here and it'll look like this. So that's wonderful practice on seeing how those go. Those are the patterns I picked out. I thought I was going to go a little bit longer than this, but those are the patterns that I picked out that really spoke to me. There are lots and lots of other charts, lots of other information. There are lots of other ways to teach multiplication. Sometimes people like to make these cool charts with these designs that, you trace it down here and there's all sorts of methods out there. And there's not one way that is exactly correct. You have to find what works for you and what works for your student. If you're not confident in it, then they're not going to be confident in it either. So one of the things I love about RightStart, I love that Dr. Cotter has done, is she exposes you to all sorts of strategies, all sorts of different techniques to solve the problem. I know, switching gears a little bit, to subtraction. You know, when I was in school, you learned that subtraction was taking the smaller thing from the bigger thing. That's not always true. But that's how you did it. You just made it smaller. So my kids have gone through RightStart, and my daughter is a huge fan of counting up. Well, I don't want to count up. That's not how I learned it. That doesn't work for me. But if I told her she could only do it the way that I did it, that I learned, then she wouldn't be as confident with her subtraction. She wouldn't feel confident. She wouldn't feel like she was good at math because it's only this one way. So same thing with multiplication. We want to teach you all the ways. We want you to discover math. We want you to love math, to see it everywhere you go, and just the beauty that is math. So that's what I have for multiplication. I am open to questions, as is Dr. Cotter. So anything that you would like to know further, please let us know.
Where do we find these charts?
So all of them are included in the new book that Dr. Cotter is working on right now. I'm going to go to that first slide. The Start Math Right, the Journey to Mathematical Excellence. But a lot of it is pulled out of different levels of RightStart. So Dr. Cotter, do you have more specific information about that?
Um,
No.
well, which chart do you mean? You mean the short tables? Those are in the back.
Yeah,
This
Those are in
one
the
here?
back. Yeah,
Okay,
those,
sorry.
they're in the back of the card games book.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
They're actually on the multiplication cards that I happen to have on my desk.
Oh, yes.
So
Well, those are kind of tiny for a child to use.
yeah, but they do exist there. But yes, no, there's bigger ones in our appendix pages, and it's introduced and it's explained and thoroughly gone over how to use it. And it is a tool. That's one thing I've definitely gotten from Dr. Cotter is these things are tools. Your abacus is a tool. Your multiplication table is a tool. Let your student use it until they don't anymore. You know, don't make it a struggle. Don't make it a battle. They'll start visualizing it. You might think, oh, we're never getting rid of that, that short multiplication table. We're never getting rid of the abacus. You will. It will disappear one day, when you're not even paying attention, like all sorts of things. So good question. Anybody else?
Do you have suggestions for transitioning from one? I have a third grader that we are looking at transitioning from a different homeschool program to Right Start, and I'm not quite sure how that will go, given that she does not have the foundation that
Yeah,
Right Start
absolutely.
provides.
Yeah, so speaking from personal experience, my son, he had gone to a private school, then he did first grade in public school, and I pulled him in second grade and we started in RightStart. And I was like, what is this? You know, I don't even know where to start. But we do a wonderful thing, and we put some review lessons at the beginning, roughly 10, you know, some less, some more, to get them used to using the abacus and all those things. And you can jump right in. So that is there as scaffolding. And what it used to be previously was there were transition lessons, and people will talk about that was with the first edition. We don't have that anymore in second edition. That's built right in. And also, if you ever get to a spot where you started and you're a little unsure and you just need a little bit more support, you can call us every day of the week, and you get to talk to sometimes me, but there's about 4 or 5 of us on the team, and we can answer your questions and walk you through there. Even if you're like, hey, I'm doing it this way and it's not working, you know, what's another way I can phrase this? And we can usually get you there with ease.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to read this question over here. Dr. Carr, do you want to answer that question, or would you like me to? In the chat, they're asking, they do their state evaluations, they get feedback working on speed. They're not worried about it, but but I wonder if there's any encouragement in RightStart Math towards speed.
Well, I say if you have to do time tests, one way to do it is is to let the child finish the page or whatever you're using and time it. And then afterward, then the next day, trying to beat their own time. That way they're competing only against themselves.
Okay.
And it doesn't make sense to just, if you're only giving them 2 minutes to do it or whatever, and they only get the first couple rows done, but they're always practicing the same thing. So let them finish it and then write down their time and compare their times. And that's kind of fun for a lot of kids.
Okay, that totally makes sense. And that's actually, in a previous life, I used to coach a lot of sports, and that's something we would do, right? See how many passes you can get through the cones in a minute. Now let's try it again. And you're only competing against yourself. We don't care about everybody else. We're working on attaining our own goals. So I think that's a great suggestion. Does that help, Laura?
I'm going to chime in. This is Kathleen. I'm going to chime in and say, play the games, because
Yeah.
the games is where you get that fluency, that ease with it. And of course, once you have the fluency and ease, of course, the speed's going to come with it. So do you find a game that, okay, we're getting good with it. Okay, you don't really see any thinking happening. They're just playing. That's great. Then go see if you can find a game that requires speed and see what you can come up with. So
Yeah.
to me, the games is the best way to do it, because you also have the joy just built right in there.
Yes.
Yes, and there are a couple games that are actually speed games. They're called speed.
Say,
Yes.
Dr. Cotter, turn on your video.
It won't let me.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Oh,
Oh, there
now,
we
There
go.
it goes.
now it is. But
Yeah.
it was fighting me. I was trying.
Yep.
Yeah, so the games are, I think the games are often, as a word here, underutilized. There we go. I think they're often underutilized, but the value in the games is so significant. There's just constant repetition. Plus, you're doing it in a warm, fuzzy way. You're with your parents, you're with your siblings, you're with your friends. So you're learning these facts. You're getting that repetition in the practice. With anything, repetition and practice are going to improve speed, right? Because we're just going to know it more. And it's different than saying, here's a flashcard answer, here's a flashcard answer, right? It's seeing them in different scenarios, right? You might be playing Ring Around the Products and seeing it in one scenario, and then maybe you're playing the speed version, you're seeing it another way. And another thing about games is on our website, I recommend this a lot. Dr. Cotter has gone ahead and made Dr. Cotter's game picks. And you can go on there and say, okay, I'm looking for multiplication games, and my kiddo right now is a beginner. And these are the games that she recommends to progress through there. And then I think it's like beginner, meteor, I forget what the middle one is, in like advanced or something, right? So there's different levels that you can experience through there. Okay. I got a private message asking if there's a math tutoring program for this program specific for 5th grade. We don't have them broken down by grades, but we have them broken down into different concepts. We have our place value and number sense, or just number sense, which covers place value. There's 2 multiplication books. I'm going to end up missing something here. So if Dr. Cotter or Kathleen would like to chime in, you're more than welcome. But we have
There's
specific.
number sense, which is addition and subtraction, including place value. And then we've got multiplication, book 1, which will cover up to multiplication facts up to 100, and division from 100 down, including remainders. Book 2 is going to do, sorry, I didn't turn my video on. Book 2 will do multi-digit multiplication, short and long division, which, by the way, if you don't know what short division is, that's a cool
So
part.
cool. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know, I think Teresa's probably going to talk about that tomorrow. She's got the 11:30 slot, the 11:30 central slot. So that's what book 2, multiplication book 2 is, and then we have a fractions book also for tutoring. But not knowing, I kind of have heard you say the question, Allison, but if you're
Yeah.
looking for somebody to tutor your child, there are tutors. They're not RightStart certified, but they're people who have indicated to us that they are tutoring using RightStart. And if you want to, I can give you some names. I know people that do a really, really good job. I have one person that the only thing she does is tutor RightStart math. She does no other topics, no other curriculum. That's all she does. And I think she's full most of the time. But there are tutors available if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and actually rereading the question that might be more specific to what they were asking. So, yeah, so specifically looking for tutoring for their child.
Okay,
is the
we
question.
do have on our website, if you go to resources, well, actually just click on the tutoring on the homepage, click on tutoring down at the bottom of that list. And there's another link to go to the list of tutors. And again, these are just people who have indicated to us that they're using the program. I've got them sorted kind of by region.
It's all by time zone. I was looking at it earlier today.
Is it time zone? Yeah, I can't remember. I keep changing it up a bit. But then you can contact these people and see, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Are they in your area? What's the cost? And that's entirely between you and them. We have nothing to do with it. All we know is that they indicated they're using RightStart. So some of them I can vouch for that they do a phenomenal job. Others I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet.
So thank you, Kathleen. Okay. And just another thing I want to throw out there, just a personal experience. So my kids did RightStart. That's kind of how I discovered this whole world that I now work in. My daughter did A through H and my son C through H. And I know there were times when we had those moments of, are they going to learn their facts? Less for me, but like if my husband would cover down and say, oh, they don't know their multiplication facts, are they going to learn them? They will. You have to trust the process. It's not the same as how we learned necessarily. You're not going to be like, this is right now we're doing all multiplication. You're going to get it. We're going to have you discover it. We're going to have you learn it. They're both now in high school math. And every day I'm just like praising RightStart because RightStart math has 100,000,000% readied my children for high school math. They are so successful. They're so confident. My daughter doesn't even watch the videos sometimes, just as a challenge to see what she knows from RightStart previously. Then she'll correct her work and she'll go back and she'll look at the video because she needs to, because that's expected. But RightStart will get you there. Trust the process. Yes, it's different, but it's different in a good way. It's different in that we're going to help them discover, help them build confidence. Everybody wants their kids to feel confident and strong in what they're doing. And their education is so valuable and so important. These multiplication things will get you there. The games will do it. So that's my little pitch about RightStart and how it's worked for my family. So we're still taking any other questions, but I had to share that because it's just so powerful for me.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
There was a question about how to transition a student from some other curriculum to RightStart curriculum.
Yes.
And you mentioned that each book has a review section. I'm familiar with that, just because I took my own kids through it. For tutoring, are the books that you mentioned, I think the Number Sense and book 1 and 2 and maybe a third, Fractions, are those books to use for tutoring for older students who haven't been exposed to RightStart earlier,
Yes.
but need that kind of a concept transition?
Yes, that's what they're designed for. Also, we have some tests they can take, and you could email info@rightstartmath.com, and Rachel will help you get your student into the right level.
Okay.
That's important.
Specifically, what are those books again?
They are Number Sense, Multiplication 1, Multiplication 2, and Fractions.
Okay.
And they have a
All right.
different name. They're called RightStart Tutoring rather than RightStart Math.
Okay. I'll look on the
Yep.
website and I'll take a look at those.
Yeah, and one other thing I was going to say about that. Yeah, and you're going to notice, like, when you switch a curriculum, it's very common that there's going to be things that are progressing in a different order, right? So you might be going along and then all of a sudden, wait a second, what is this? We don't know it. That's when you can lean into emailing Rachel at info@rightstartmath.com, sorry, or calling us. Like, literally, this is what we do. You call us, we sit down and we walk you through the whole process. All of us have been RightStart users throughout, and we're super ready to help you. If we don't understand something or we're not explaining it, it would probably be a better way, not explaining it how it works for you, That's when Kathleen gets a call. Hey, Kathleen, could you just explain this another way? Because it's not working. But we're all ready to jump in and help. A lot of us are homeschoolers ourselves, so we've been in the battle. We get it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And if nobody else can answer the question, it comes to me.
Yes, that has happened before too. She'll say, "Let me get Joan on the phone." That has happened. So we're not afraid to ask for more support. So please don't hesitate to ask for support yourself.
Hi there, I had a quick question.
Yes.
I've been using RightStart with my oldest daughter who is in 3rd grade, and we are just a few lessons, maybe like 20 lessons into level D. We are fine. She has dyslexia and also has ADHD, and we're finding that it is taking us like 2 days to get through each lesson. And so I guess I'm trying to balance like meeting her where she's at and not asking for too much, and also recognizing like there is kind of a pace that we need to keep in order to not fall too far behind. So anyways, I don't know if you can speak to that, or thoughts, or I don't know what would be a good, like, yeah, the multiplication we just did, I think that the 9s and 10s today. But it's just taking a lot of time.
Okay. Dr. Carter, do you want to answer that, or I can?
Well, maybe we both can. Well, one
Okay.
thing is, and not everybody likes this answer, is to work through the summer. These children simply need more time.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And well, my kids had to work through the summer too, even though one summer they played every single game in the game book,
Oh, gosh.
or make sure the games worked.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
and Rachel recommends that too. Also, kids with dyslexia and other problems, that 3-month recess is way too long. They're going to forget too much. So that's one thing that can help. And there's other
And we-
suggestions too. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, no, and we have done that in the past, specifically focusing on the games over the summer. But I'm just wondering too if we need to continue doing formal lessons over the summer.
You don't have to, but do something with math.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess, is level D kind of corresponds to 3rd grade, and we're like over halfway through 3rd grade and we're just at the beginning of D. So I'm
Yes.
just thinking about like pacing to get to the right place by high school, I guess.
Yes,
I'd like
and
to
keep in mind that A is kindergarten, B is 1st grade, and so on.
Sure.
I'd like to respond a little bit more to that, Elizabeth.
Sure.
Level D is 3rd grade, don't panic, with a lot of 4th and some 5th.
Okay.
So, alrighty. So your child is in 3rd grade now, right? Halfway through 3rd grade?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing D. Let's just slow this down for a second. Let's say you don't get this done till the end of 4th grade. I mean, there's no reason why you would take that long, but let's just for conversation.
Yeah.
So you got D, you finished in 4th grade, E in 5th, F in 6th, G in 7th, H in 8th. You're doing algebra in 9th.
Okay.
You're right on task.
Yeah.
We've almost built in, I mean, not that we want you to take an extra year, but if an extra year is needed, you're
Mhm.
fine. Now, you're not going to go that slow. So if you not pick up the pace, but if you keep going, especially if you go through the summer,
Sure.
you might be ready for algebra in 8th grade.
Okay.
So
All right. Yeah. I guess that's
you're
my
not
fear is
behind.
like, I know we can't we can't move this slowly for the whole time, if that makes sense.
Right. But he's also
Yeah.
getting his legs under him.
Sure.
And one thing that I have offered, and actually I just did it this morning with somebody, is I will, and I'm sure Allison would do the same too. I have actually taught a lesson to you, the parent. So you're now the child. I'm the teacher, and I want you to behave like your child. And I'm going to model for you how to teach the lesson.
Okay. Sure.
As we all know, your kid is going to listen a whole lot better to a stranger than they're going to listen to you. I mean, that's just the way things work. But it can give ideas, because sometimes people have the idea that I need to do every little itty bitty thing, whereas you can kind of smooth it a little bit faster. And you're only 20 lessons in. You're still trying to get your wheels underneath you to figure out how fast you can go.
Yeah.
that's something that we can do to help you. So if that's a situation, give us a call.
Okay.
Ask for me specifically or ask for Allison or something. Like I said, we can model and help you because our goal is to help your son, right?
Daughter.
Daughter, to help your daughter be everything she wants to be and not
Yep.
say, oh, gee, I would love to be a veterinarian, but
Mhm.
requires math. No, I want her to be going, I am going to be the best veterinarian in the world and let her
Yeah.
go from there. So tell
Uh,
us, what can we do?
Okay.
And even if you have to call us and go, okay, what? We'll walk through it with you. We are
Okay.
your partners.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
use us.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
Rachel has even made little videos to help explain things.
Yeah,
Very good.
I have done Zoom calls with people. If you look at my text messages right now, I was sending all sorts of text messages with designs on how to do Pick's theorem, lesson 128 in E last week. And so I have regulars. Oh, wait, you work on Wednesdays, right? You work on Tuesdays. So they'll call on Tuesday and Wednesday because we've, built a rapport. It's specific to your question too. I also have a child that has ADHD and dyslexia. And some days it felt like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get through this? They were the one that was actually much stronger in RightStart and in math than my other kid that was high flying, picked up a book at 3 and started reading to me with teaching, right?
Yeah.
But they're both doing great now.
Yeah.
I had those same worries, and
Okay.
I got them through H in 8th grade, and then my work schedule picked up more. I think I was teaching 4 days a week instead of 2, and I wasn't able to sit with that ADHD kiddo and be like, nope, get back on task. Nope, get back on task. So Algebra 1, not because he wasn't capable, but Algebra 1 took us about 2 years because we had to switch curriculums. And once we did, he took off. He ended up doing Algebra 1 and geometry like in 1 school year. So you're gonna hit these bumps right now with the focus and all those other challenges that come with it. But once it clicks, it will pick up.
Okay.
And then you'll get caught up. And he's looking at colleges now, and we're on track of where we need to be. Different colleges want different things. He's going into a math heavy career, he thinks. He wants to, if everything aligns how it should. And he's going to be just fine, despite those hiccups. So I know it's hard to be like, don't worry about what level you're on, but don't worry about what level you're on. It is so strong, and get that really, really strong foundation. And they'll be okay. I
Okay.
promise.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
One
Anything?
other thing, just to kind of piggyback real quick on what Allison said, you can't build on what you don't know. So if your kid doesn't know fractions, you can't jump into something else. You've got to get fractions done. I don't care if he's or she is 12 or if she is, 17. You have to learn it. So that's why our curriculum is based in letters rather than grades. So we don't have to say, oh my word, you're so dumb, let's give you first grade stuff. No, you say you're in level B because you're beautiful, you're in level C because you're cute, you're in level D because you're darling. And you teach them where they're at, not where their birth certificate says they should be.
Yeah.
And for my daughter, she doesn't have any labels, she doesn't have any of that stuff. But she had a lot of tears in math because she was the one that school came easy. And RightStart challenges you. We don't just say, here you go, honey. No, you have to slug through it a little bit. You have to get frustrated, and you have to do that. And now she comes home from gymnastics practice as a freshman, and she's like, oh yeah, I helped, these 3 people with their math tonight. I'm like, what? Like, people are arguing over who she should be helping because she now feels so strong and confident in math. So I know the frustrating days, I've been there, but it will just trust the process. It sounds like I'm passing you off, but trust the process. I promise it works.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just one more. We have our children go to a small, kind of a co-op, and they're looking into changing math curriculums. And how does this do in a RightStart do in a classroom setting?
This is not my expertise, but Kathleen and Joan it is. I'm going to be quiet.
Good, turn my video back on. It actually does very well. We have 2 halves to the RightStart program. We have the homeschool or small group environment or lessons. And then we also have school lessons for a traditional classroom that's got 20, 30 kids in there, however many's in there. So yes, people use it and they use them very well. And it's really fun to hear how the test scores, especially in schools, because they're mostly required to do, to provide test scores. It's amazing to watch how well they're doing. It almost gives you goosebumps to see how they're doing.
So these are small classes, like less than 10 kids. Most of them
then they
have
would-
about 7 kids.
Yep, then they would probably track in on our small group.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, same thing. They're very similar. The lessons are going to be exactly the titles are the same, the goals are the same, but in the school lessons versus the small group, the school lessons assume that you have 20 some abacuses, whereas the homeschool, the small group assumes you've got a small classroom of anywhere from 4 to 7, 8-ish kids. And so you just manage it slightly different, but it's the same end results with where you're going. But like I said, it works wonderfully well. And we do have a school team that can work with your school teachers and your parents, because parents, as we all know, you can have one crabby parent who can spoil the whole thing. So we always like to have a parent meeting explaining why are we doing what we're doing, what's this, and kind of talk about a lot of these things that Allison has shared with us today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have one more question is, does RightStart program ever consider doing online for older students, let's say for 6th grade and up?
So we do offer, sorry,
No,
Kathleen.
go ahead. Go ahead, Allison.
We do offer online classes for both levels G and H. I am one of the facilitators of that class, and how it works is they complete the coursework on their own. They turn it into us on Canvas. We give it a quick look over, and we make notes of, okay, this is the problem that really got a lot of people. I want to make sure we spend a lot of attention on that. They come to class. We have a PowerPoint where we go over our vocabulary, our terms, just our real big concepts. And then we go through the worksheets together. And I might say, okay, Amanda, how did you do this? And she's going to tell me. And then Kathleen's going to go, oh, I did it a different way. So then I'm going to grab a different color pen and I'm going to do the work in that color. So G and H, that's our 6th and 7th grade-ish level, right? They are online. That is an available option. And we also have the option of self-paced for those as well. So you get a couple of different options there.
So that will be on the website as well, the hours of time for
Yes,
online
ma'am.
classes? Okay, thank you.
If we don't have any more questions, then we can let you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming by, and hopefully you learned a little bit of something or were inspired. If you ever need any help or support, don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We love helping people, and you're not alone on your homeschool journey. And then here's my information. If you ever need to reach out to me, you can reach out at allison@rightstartmath.com or give us a call. Thank you, everybody.